thousands of flights were canceled over the holiday weekend because the Omicron variant seems to be rolling its way through the United States. The United States has instated tougher travel restrictions requiring anyone who wants to travel in the United States to have a test that was done within the previous 24 hours of boarding. Problem is, the U.S. can't guarantee that those kind of tests at all. So the funny thing about this law is that the U.S. is asking other countries to comply with something that they cannot do themselves. Travelers all over the country are reporting that they are unable to get a test, and if they can get a test, they are not guaranteed to have results within 24 hours. Many of them are going 72 hours and then therefore missing their flights. Hundreds of thousands of travelers were stranded for this very reason. And it's a strange sort of method of operation at this point, is that, it's again that the U.S. cannot seem to test with any kind of regularity or reliability or validity, right? Why is that? Early in the pandemic, there were reasons. It had to do with the FDA and their sort of tightened regulations. We can talk about that later. But now we have a standardized test. They are readily available in most countries. So is it that if tests are not available, people will just, I might as well just go get vaccinated? Is that what the idea is? Or why? Why is this happening, do you think?
I don't know. It's a disaster. I mean, when you look at what's happening in the UK right now, not exactly a poster child for handling the pandemic, but in the UK, if you want to get tests for travel, you literally go to a website and plug in your info, and there you can order, like, hey, I need 7 of these because my family of 7 is traveling. They will be there the next day. They will show up on your front door with tests ready to go.
And you can upload it. There is a service in the United States that is allowing you to do virtual at-home tests, and you will get a valid code. You have to FaceTime with the nurse in order to do it. So they watch you stick yourself on the nose. They watch the camera, so you can't
fake it,
put it up your daughter's nose or your dog's nose or whatever, right? You have to do it to yourself. But this is a privilege. It costs $60 for 2 tests, right?
For a wealthy person, that's going to be great.
It's fine, right? You can skip the line. But for non-wealthy people, you can't skip the line, and you're in exorbitant long lines in sort of public, crowded places where probably you are giving each other COVID. It doesn't really make sense to tighten this legislation and then prove and then show the man behind the curtain, show that we can't do it.
Well, we can't do it at all.
It's also been shown time and time again that these tests, those swab tests, are not accurate.
Yes.
Right. So, don't even talk about that. Right. Forget that part of it. How can we get tests out to people so they feel good about themselves? Right. Forget whether or not they work, because God knows, think about that for a second. You have false positives. You have certain people who are, in one nostril, they're getting one response, and the other nostril, they're getting a different response, or they're not putting it in. Are we trusting everyone at home to do these things properly? We know how uncomfortable they are, right? Yeah. If you've got one of these things, they go up to your brain, when you're like, okay, are you done? Are you done? Are you done? If I'm doing it at home, I'm going, well, there we go. Right? I mean, let's be honest.
I did that to myself when I did have COVID and got negative and was like, fine. And then Clayton watched me do it, and he's like, you're not really doing that. And I'm like, because I don't want to.
This is hardly even in your nose. You got to go all the way up there. You got to jam your brain. You got to feel your head going off.
It's hard to do that to yourself. It's like waxing your own eyebrows.
Exactly. That's why. So to David's point, I mean, knowing whether or not these things work to begin with by having a professional do it, and then on top of that, now you're going to trust people at home to make sure that they're getting Anyway, but Jen Psaki was asked this question a week ago or 2 weeks ago, right? She was asked about free COVID tests at home, and she snarkily responded. She's like, what, are we going to start giving out free tests to everyone? That was her response, to which, a week later, now that's what they're doing.
If there were profit in it for somebody, you absolutely would have done it, because we're giving away free vaccines to everyone.
But there's just such it doesn't make any sense. It's such a hodgepodge. With the United States could spend $768 billion a year on national defense, right? This seems to me like a military operation, but we can't get tests out to people.
It's crazy.
And to me, it's just because to me, it looks like, because that they're not going to be accurate. They're already not accurate when they do them at a hospital. They're going to be less accurate at home, but it helps keep the fear alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether or not, so here's another crazy thing, right? in America, and I didn't know this until doing the research for this story, that you can fly in the United States domestically
Oh, yes.
with no test
Or mask.
or a mask.
Well, no, the airlines
Oh,
require
I
a
guess
mask.
there's. But you don't have to show a test when
Sorry.
you go on an airline in the United States. You do not have to show any kind of vaccine card or anything. But to go into a freaking restaurant, you have to. So you're going to travel, you're going to go through, and that's why, you have all of these airlines canceling flights. I mean, thousands of them, of course, canceling flights. We had upwards of 10,000 flights canceled. Mm-hmm. And you had some being canceled mid-flight. One flight, a British Airways flight, a Delta flight had to be canceled mid-flight.
What does that mean? In the air?
In the air, it was canceled while it was flying.
So they
Because
just turned them around?
They just turn them around. Like, how do you, and then think about like global infrastructure and shipping and everything else. Like, how can you run a business off of that? You can't. They've got to figure something out here because it's an absolute disaster right now.